Hi, I'm Sonia Malkin, and our guest here with this very strange looking baby on her lap is Linda Sweeney.
Hi.
Hey. Hi, Linda. You've been here for a long time too, haven't you?
I grew up here.
Tell me about it. When did you get here? You weren't born here.
Well, I was almost born here and
What do you
came
mean,
when I was
almost born?
Well, I was born in New York and then I came to Woodstock
here
right
very
after
little.
that. And I'm one of the few people I know that's lived here forever, and feel very proud of that and pleased. Lived in New York for a few years after I was married and came back and started our business with my husband and raised my family here and love it. Love Woodstock.
When were you here? When did you come here? What year was it?
I was born in 34 and I came here in 1935.
Oh, you were here long before I did.
Yes, I remember when you first came.
Did you?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were swimming at Volta.
Shady.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. It looks like another lifetime.
It seems such a short time ago in a way to me.
In some ways, it's very vivid, you know.
It is.
And still they're so grown up now. They have children of their own, and it's a different life.
But it's gone so fast. The time
God,
has
and
gone.
it's going faster and faster.
Yes.
Somebody's pushing that wheel up there
Right.
full speed. Tell me about this baby.
Well, this is one of our family of babies and adults and children, which are used for teaching CPR. This is a preemie baby, so she's a newborn baby. And
First, I want you to tell me how you started the whole idea of Simulate.
Okay. When I was married at the tender age of 19, and I'm still married all these years later, my husband, Kevin, and I lived in Woodstock. Went to New York for him to finish college and stayed for a few years and decided to start a business. And the beginning of Simulates is really interesting because one day Kevin was coming home on the subway in New York, and on an island on Broadway, Upper Broadway, was a little girl who'd been hit by a car, and a large crowd had gathered. No one knew how to help her, and she bled to death. And as Kevin arrived, she had just died. And he came home and said, I know what I have to do. I have to start a business that's going to teach people how to help each other in emergency care. And that was the idea of our business to begin with.
That was dramatic, didn't it?
It was. It was a dramatic kind of thought. And we moved to Woodstock. Somebody, a friend, lent us a small room, and we started our business on not even a shoestring, on a car loan, a small car loan, thinking we'd support our children and our business and so on and live on this small amount of money. And it took 24 hours a day work and stuff, but it did survive, and we were just very lucky.
How many people are working for you now?
Well, we now have 60, probably
60?
about 60, between 50 and 60.
Yeah, it's not a cottage industry anymore, is it?
No, it's spread out.
It's a real industry.
Yes, takes a lot
Tell
of
me
space.
about the gadget that you manufacture. This is one of them, but
This
you have
is
a lot
one.
of different ones, don't you?
Yeah, we make essentially emergency care products.
How many do you have?
And we have, I don't know how many, Sonia, because they keep evolving and changing. And we have a catalog, and primarily we have products that stay on year after year, but changes happen. So we have a family, I think, of 10 or 12 mannequins for teaching CPR, of which this is one. This has a face that removes and a lung that removes, so people who don't want to have their own face mask to remove, there's no cross-contamination. And so that's an improvement in a product we already had that meets today's needs. And we have an emergency childbirth mannequin, and we have arms and hands for teaching people to practice giving IVs. We have a choking mannequin to teach people how to do the Heimlich maneuver. And many other varieties of things that teach people how to train realistically in first aid care. We have something called moulages, a word you probably know.
Moulage
it's
is
a
the French word. Yeah. It's a mold.
Right. It's a mold, and from these we make so-called injury simulations. They're rather gory. They actually bleed by pushing a pump. But people learn to practice instead of with just a label. They learn how to put pressure on to stop the bleeding, and they learn how to face the reality of how awful someone looks when they're injured, so that they're not just going and taking care of you if you have a little tag on you saying that you've injured your arm, and it's actually a compound fracture bleeding with bone protruding. So most of our products are very medically oriented. And
who buys them?
Well, when we started our company, I used to say that every day. Who's going to buy them? And I kept being told, well, every fire department, every police department, every ambulance, every college, every hospital, and eventually this market just expanded to include all of that.
Schools should have them. And high schools should have them. They do.
Mm-hmm.
More.
They're teaching, especially CPR in high schools. And now we're getting into international markets, which is fun for us because we get to travel and meet distributors. But when we first began this, an ambulance driver needed no training whatsoever. Could just go out and apply to anybody who had an ambulance, and they could give you a job.
And people on the stretcher and take them away.
Yeah, so people, there was no really emergency care until you got to a doctor. Now people are very, very highly trained.
Yeah. The first time I heard it, it sounded so strange to me. What do you mean, bleeding things? I mean, it's just, then it occurred to me how intelligent concept it was. That was a wonderful idea.
Well,
do you have a lot of competition with? Is there other manufacturers?
When we began, we were the only company in this country making moulages, for example. And as we've been in business for 30-some years now, and as the years have gone by, more people have entered, and different facets of the things we make. No one makes exactly what we make, or vice versa. But now if you go to a trade show, it's not just us. It's a whole building of 3 or 4 stories with people with booths selling things that are similar. We keep trying to evolve and make products that we see a need for.
Is there something that's more popular, if I can use this word?
Well,
something that's more needed than CPR is the most.
Probably.
Is that the most?
Yes, I would say for us it's the main product that we have, and that's the most popular because actually, if each person knew how to do CPR, so many lives would be saved.
Saved, right?
It's true often that people who know CPR and get to the scene of an accident or a need for giving CPR might be just too late to get there to give breath to a person who's been afflicted in some way.
Sure.
So one of the things we try to do is educate people that everyone should know CPR.
That's true. That's true.
And we have a wonderful workforce. Over these years we've built up a company full of delightful and dedicated and compatible and capable people, and it's just kind of beautiful. And sometimes I get there and I literally get tears in my eyes. I can't believe we went from this little room to all these people.
It's an accomplishment, I must say.
It is. It's a great feeling. And
I was just thinking, looking at the baby, in the old days, practically all women were taught how to help somebody giving birth.
Yes, that's right.
It was, you better do it because there was no doctors, were miles and miles away, and so most women knew how to do this. If I had to help somebody with baby coming, I don't know what I would do.
Well, maybe you'd have trained on a emergency childbirth delivery mannequin. Because they do that.
Do you have one for that?
We have one for that, yes. And we're making products now for the third world countries for teaching the insertion of IUDs. We're beginning to branch out in a lot of different ways. But I would say probably most emergency personnel have trained on our childbirth mannequins.
Police people?
Police and firemen, they all love to deliver babies.
Well, they have their name in the papers and they're on TV. And
it's exciting.
And glory.
Yes. And
it's always a wonderful thing to be able to see life coming.
Yes. A really rewarding part of giving emergency care.
I saw my grandson being born, and that was an experience.
Isn't it a what?
That was marvelous.
Yes, it is a glorious
I think all men should see their children being born. That would be.
Oh, I do too.
Absolutely.
I do too.
Well, I'm afraid we're running out of time.
Well, it's been very
wonderful. I'm so glad you came.
Well, it's been wonderful to be asked.
I think we should do something about this baby.
What do you think?
He has his mouth open for
so
long.
Well, he has
Maybe
to.
he's hungry.
He has to. He's got to be always ready to have breath blown into him. This is a her. We have hims too.
Yeah, him too.
And we have different colored babies of all hues. So
that's an idea.
Yeah, it's nice.
Of course.
So that's
we
good.
never think about things like
well,
that.
Thank you for having me.
Linda.
I've loved to be here. Good. Goodbye. Bye. Oh, you're going to get a lot of hugs with these interviews.
Yes. I'm Sonia Malkin, and we have here a very distinguished artist and an old friend and somebody I'm very, very fond of. It's Howard Koch. I know, it's Howard Koch from Casablanca. Everybody knows that. But there's a lot of other things from Howard Koch. Before I saw Casablanca, I saw a beautiful movie that you did. It was called Letter to an Unknown Woman.
Oh, yes, that just was selected by the World Critics meeting in Lisbon as one of the 10 greats.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And it was a flop when it came up, didn't it?
It didn't
work.
It didn't play around very much.
No.
But now I think it will after
now
this
it's a classic.
commendation. Yeah.
It was a beautiful movie. It was so romantic. I had read the book, before, so I was familiar with the story.
Yes.
But what touched me also a lot was the music that was played. Did you choose that piece of music?
See what?
The music.
Oh, yes.
That the Sospiro of Liszt, which
yes.
is one of my favorite melody of all time. And
yes,
that really
nice.
made the movie for me too.
Had a very good director, Max Ophuls.
Yes.
French director. And we worked together very well, and were very pleased with the result.
Did you choose the music? Who chose that piece of music for the movie?
I don't know now who did the
You don't
music
remember
on it.
it?
No, I don't remember that. It's 50 years ago, isn't it?
Yes, don't remind me. But I thought maybe it was you who chose that particular piece of music for the movie.
No.
No, you didn't. You don't remember who did it. It was so nice. It was so beautiful. What else did you do besides? Tell us about the other movies that you did.
Oh, quite a few.
The Fox.
The Letter with Betty Davis.
The Letter.
No Sad Songs for Me, Margaret Sullivan.
I didn't see that.
That
I don't
is one
think.
of my favorites.
Well, I'll watch for it.
Yeah. It was, and
The Fox.
Mission to Moscow.
Mission to Moscow.
Yeah, which has a story connected with it. Would you like to hear that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, when I wrote Mission to Moscow, it was at the request of President Roosevelt through Jack Warner that it be done for the war effort, because we had strange ideas of the Soviet Union, and they were our ally, and they wanted that something good to be said about them. So that was done for that good reason. Then when the McCarthy period came, and blacklist and so on, it was on my blacklist as a subversive contribution. Yeah, times change. Yeah.
You were blacklisted, weren't you?
Yes, we spent 5 years, Anne and I, in England, France, Italy, very happily, actually. The blacklist was not happy for most people, but it got us over to Europe, and we were accepted there. They understood why we were there, and I did a picture with Joe Losi over there. So it was not an unhappy period, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was meant to be, but
you were lucky. Yeah, some people had a very hard time. That I met John Henry Falk. Do you remember him?
Henry Falk?
John Henry Falk. He was a radio personality. He was on CBS for a long time.
The name's kind of familiar, but I
he was
blacklisted,
and he had he had a horrible time.
There were
lost
many.
his job. Even his wife couldn't wash floors. You know, they were completely out of it.
Well, I would say there were many that lost their jobs and split marriages, and it did a lot of bad things. But we were very fortunate because we kind of sailed through it. It didn't bother us very much.
When did you come back?
Well, let's see, when did we go? 1942, Anne, is that right?
No, about 51.
51.
You left in 51?
That's quite wrong. And we stayed 5 years.
5 years, so you came back in 56.
Yes.
You did some of the things that we worked together at. I was so proud of it.
Yes, yes, we worked
I even sang one of your songs.
on the Old Little Sparrow.
Oh, Little Sparrow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's still one of my favorite songs.
We still got that placard up in our house, Old Little Sparrow.
That was part of the whole story, though.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What was the story? Do you remember what the story was?
Going with Old Little Sparrow. Let's see if I can recall it.
It was one of those things that we did for the living newspaper.
Oh yes, it was part of the living newspaper. Yes.
Was that for
Annie Morgenstern.
Piper Laurie?
Piper Laurie. Yeah.
Piper Laurie.
Yeah.
She had the principal part of it.
Yeah.
It was for the election of. It was for presidential election, wasn't it? That we did that.
We were stumping for, and I can't even.
No, it was not McCarthy. It was the other one. I never remember.
McGovern.
McGovern. That's what it was. It was for McGovern.
Yeah, for
the
McGovern.
election of McGovern.
We were trying to get him to be president.
To be president.
Yeah. We still have that up too. Yeah.
Yeah.
All our memos.
There was something else. There was another one that you did that also was somebody else who was not elected. There was. I thought Howard always get with the losers. Remember we had this party at your house, and there was a lot of people, and who was it? I'm terrible with names. You would think that doing something like this I would remember what I'm talking about. not Robert Dupree, who was the man? John Hall. John Hall came and sang at your house.
Oh,
Do you remember what it was about?
I don't remember.
There was something about,
much about
the ecology. There was something about ecology. What do you do now? Do you write?
Yes,
Are you preparing something
I'm
new?
writing something that's going to be done later, called the Coldest War.
The Coldest War?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
About an ice age coming down, encroaching on us, and how people react and how they deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they'll be able to deal with it?
You see, there are ice ages every 50 or 60 years, little ones or big ones,
mm-hmm.
and we're assuming that it's a pretty big one.
There's a big one coming. Oh, I thought last winter was a big one.
Yeah.
You think there's going to be a bigger one than that?
We're having the glaciers come down and, of course, pretty well go through Canada, so everybody has to go south.
Uh-huh.
And there's a lot of problems that arise from
Going south.
people occupying other people's houses and so on. At first they were welcome in the southern cities, but when it got too crowded, their hospitality waned, and then there were problems between them. So I'm assuming that this is coming. I hope it doesn't come too soon.
Not too soon, please.
Tell her about invasion of Mars.
Oh, the Martians invasion.
Oh.
Tell us about that.
Oh, yes. Well, the Martians invaded us in
your show.
I
wasn't there, Jens, but I heard about it a lot.
And now I'm reversing it. I'm doing
Are we invading Mars?
We're invading Mars.
Well, I think it's about time.
Yeah.
They have been coming here for a long time.
Well, actually, the Russians and we both have plans for possible settlements on Mars.
Uh-huh.
The plans are all there. Now, Mars is a very cold planet and lacks water, so they have to sort of a bubble that they would bring along.
To put all around the planet?
All around? No, just a slice
on
of
the planet.
Yes.
And to manufacture water? How do you invent water?
Have to bring it.
You have to bring it.
Yes.
You're going to need a long pipe.
And then they hope by digging down they will find water. So they won't have to. Then they won't have to bring it.
Yeah, the idea is that there were poles that there are poles
it's cold
on
the
Mars.
surface.
Yeah, and that there was already water there at one time.
That's the theory.
Yeah.
And that it's still down there underneath the surface. It's been covered up by various layers.
I didn't know that you were so interested in ecology, in the world, geology. How would you call it?
Well,
or it's just UFOs or
doing films, Sonia, and plays. You get interested in everything. I mean, it comprises a lot of things. So I learn as I go along of these things. I get good advice from people like our friend Berman here. Berman.
Oh, yes.
And so it's a matter of what happens to interest me at the time. And now I'm interested in Mars.
Is it going to be a movie?
I think so.
In this country?
Movie or television, I don't know.
Have you done a lot of writing for television?
I don't write for television, but things have been done that I've written for movies, of course, on television. And I don't think I've done anything directly for television. Have I, Anne?
No.
Any particular reason for it? It's not something that interests you, or is it just
Well,
didn't
yes, it
happen?
reaches a lot of people, and I'm interested, but I'm primarily a film person,
Filmmaker.
yeah. And I have to switch over, and we'll be doing something, I hope, like my Martian story, perhaps on television.
Because there's a lot of interest in interplanetary travel and futuristic kind of shows on television. I would think that would be a wonderful idea.
Yes, well, I think it'll probably come about sooner or later.
Sooner
Yeah.
rather than later. There was something else I wanted to ask you. I can't remember where it was now. I didn't write. Oh yeah, why did you choose to come to Woodstock in particularly?
How did I come to Woodstock?
Yeah,
I was
everybody
raised,
has a different, reason or.
I was raised in
episode.
Kingston.
You were? I
Yeah,
never knew that.
yes. I was born in New York, but raised in Kingston. And Woodstock interested me because it was the bohemian
Uh-huh.
atmosphere, and so that I got interested in it very young. And then when we were blacklisted, it seemed kind of a good place to stay and find out what we're going to do next. Well, what we did next was to go to Europe.
Of course.
But Woodstock has always been a place that I like and admire. The people, have friends here, and so on. It's a very special place.
Yes,
as you know.
I call it a refugee camp.
Oh,
Because people come here
uh-huh.
from, if they don't really get adjusted anywhere else, they can come to Woodstock and do their own thing and be free to be themselves.
Uh-huh.
Did you ever feel that way about Woodstock? Did you feel comfortable in Woodstock during the blacklisting time?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, except when I went to Europe. But it was a place that we came to sort of figure out. See, I'd just come from earning a very big salary, and suddenly I had none.
Nothing.
And we had to figure out what to do and where to go, where would be best, where I could begin to earn some money again. And so Europe is where, or Woodstock is where we began to think these things out. And then went to Europe, and after the blacklist ended, well, we thought it had ended. That's a little story too. When we came back, we were told, you can come back now because the blacklist is over, and so on. But I was found through CBS and NBC. They told me, you're still on one list of the Americanization Committee of the American Legion.
No.
And we'll set up a meeting with a big lawyer, a Washington lawyer, for you in New York. And you meet him, and in the meantime, he'll go through your records and so on. So I did meet him down there. It was Edward Bennett Williams. And he said, I've looked you up and everything is clear and you have no reason to be on any blacklist. And I said, well, I'm still on this one. And he picked up the phone and he got their number of this committee. And he said, Howard Koch goes off the blacklist tomorrow morning. or you're sued for $2 million. Take your choice. So I was off the next day. Yes.
Yeah, John Henry Falk, I was telling you, I think he was the first one who broke the back of the blacklisting. Louis Nizer was his lawyer, and he was the first one who dared really confront the McCarthy committee and their people, and he won. Mm-hmm. He was the first one who did.
Yes.
Those are terrible
great
times.
Satisfaction. And also to get back to work again.
Were you working in Europe? Were you able to work in Europe?
Yes. Yeah? Yes, I did.
Is that when you did the films?
I did a picture with Joe Losey over there. Joe Losey was also blacklisted.
What was the picture?
We used to meet, all the blacklisted people, used to meet at Edward Bennett Williams' house in London every Sunday and exchange news and so on. And, well, some were unhappy, losing their jobs and so on. But I had one very quickly under another name. And so the picture that you might have seen over here was
your picture.
Yeah.
What was the name?
I used
Peter Rodney.
Peter Rodney.
Peter Rodney.
Yeah.
Oh, if I see the name now, I know it was you.
Brother of Anne.
That was your brother then?
Yeah.
It was his name?
So I took, I was, I guess Anne Rodney.
Anne was a great one to have during this period because nothing daunts her. I mean, she doesn't get melancholy about losing $3,000 a week, which we were making.
Well, that would be very melancholic too myself if I was losing 3,000. Even now, never mind 20 years ago.
A little adjustment there.
You know, in those days when we first came here, it was 1948, 49, and McCarthy was really beginning, and we had left France, my husband and I, after the war and the resistance and all the things that were happening, because we could see the right-wing people coming back, in power, in government, and we said, oh, let's get away from here, let's go to America, and we